My name is Marcin Pietruszewski. I'm a composer and a researcher working with sound, computational sound, different ways of computers understand or not understand sound and listening.
My name is Lukas de Clerck, and my work is centered around a double pipe that's lost through time, which is, it has many names. Aulos is one, TBI is one. I'm trying to imagine new realities for the instrument.
We met in the Spatial Studio of Sonic Acts. As part of this kind of collaboration, we try to develop together, centered on practice and the instrument playing of Lukas, playing the Aulos, and me developing digital tools, computational tools to listen and analyze the sound of the Aulos and somehow use this information to spatialize the instrument on different spatial systems. I'm trying to come up with an idea or a format which will allow me to play the instrumental sound, but also the kind of synthetic sound within different spatial systems without needing to kind of recompose the work each time I move from, the soundscape of DNB to sound galaxy of Meyer sound system, for example. So the idea is that there is this technological aspect of the work which will allow us to develop a material which can be then transferable across different technological scenarios. I had Lukas playing first at the Sonic Acts Biennial in 2024. He was playing a piece by Sarah Devaci, yeah?
With Victor Guaita.
Yes, so there was a duo. And after that I started reading a bit more about work of Lukas, and I got really fascinated by the Aulos as an instrument, but also as a media artifact. And what struck me is this possibilities of the instrument to create these psychoacoustic phenomena, especially kind of beatings, distortion. In my work, I've been exploring quite a lot these phenomena which are at an intersection of psychoacoustics or the physiology of the ear, especially the tones which we can call auditory distortion tones or distortion product otoacoustic emissions.
The reason why I started playing Aulos was also this: I wasn't really so interested in its past, let's say, but more in its sound itself. So I think a lot of things that Marcin talked about are kind of inherently connected with the morphology of the instrument because of the double reeds that are made in a specific way. It's a very unstable instrument. So yeah, all these beatings or all these phenomena are kind of happening, whether you like it or not. But that's kind of what drew me to the instrument. And then the instrument I've been playing for like the last 2-3 years is an instrument I designed myself, which is kind of allowing to study those phenomena a bit more precise with a telescopic Aulos. So it's 3 tubes, each pipe has 3 tubes that are collapsible. And you're kind of free frequency-wise to roam around the spectrum and trying to find specific spots where a lot of things happen.
It's a delay with modulation. What about now?
And I think connecting this research with Marcin's research is very interesting because it's very different ways of working around the same material. I kind of generate input with these instruments, and what I liked a lot the last 4 days was this idea that the analysis is not like, it's not the goal. Like the analysis is kind of again a source to start creating with, and this is what I really, what I found inspiring. Like the analysis is immediately generating new ways of working with the sound. So it's a beautiful way of analyzing the instrument, but not reflecting, but again going into action.
Well, I'm not sure. What's really interesting to me also is this ideas how computer listens, how computer computes the audible. It's something I've been very interested in my own practice, and also I found interesting connection with what Lukas is doing with his musical practice, that there is this really strong element of media archaeology, of this kind of excavation, not only of the artifact, the instrument as an artifact, but that the fact that the instrument and the kind of practice of that instrument exists across different resources. It's been depicted. There are parts of instrument or instruments found, all over the world. There are some texts which talk about the preparation of the reed or the instrument. That all of these resources contribute to what Lukas has been also developing and playing. And somehow, when I look at my own research and my own practice as an artist, there is this element of archaeology happening, however, not with ancient instruments, but with digital artifacts. And I'm often surprised that these things, we kind of interact with on a daily basis, mobile phones, our laptops, that they also have history. One thing I would like to mention in this particular context of how machine listens to and how we listen to, what could be the, I don't want to say opposition, but kind of like a interesting creative tension there. Like when we listen to the sound of an instrument, we just hear it as a whole, as a kind of a unity.
And it's like this translating or ripping the sound apart and then putting it back together. I think it's also a way of introducing the sound to an audience in a very reflective way. Like it's kind of educational almost. Like these are all the elements of the sound. By making them work or using them as an element of making a piece, a musical piece, it's kind of also pointing out that there are so many layers and they're all part of this one sound that then gets ripped open. So it makes it even more transparent in a way. Or
and that's all, like, again, it relates to this, to make the listening process, like not only our listening as artists, but also audiences, audible. That, the goal of the project could be like to make the activity of the machine, of the computer, be audible or noticeable, or have this agency of the computer there. But also, made me think about the kind of human listening. That it happens on so many different layers. We have this kind of physiological layer of it, which we explore with these inner ear tones. But there are also this kind of perceptual, cognitive, psychological processes which relate to listening, which are quite fascinating. That we we constantly listen, and we segregate, we stream sounds together. Certain sounds, because of their spectrum and the frequency they appear with, we group them together as kind of one group of sounds, sounding together as a kind of one thing, but they can also play almost like two separate instruments. So I think this dynamic between gluing, listening, and sound together, and dissolving it is quite interesting. I don't know, like metaphor to think through while working on this project.